Long before convenience meals, glossy cookbooks, and online recipes took over our kitchens, homestead dinners were built on patience, necessity, and whatever the land and seasons provided. These meals weren't fancy, and they weren't fast, but they carried warmth, survival, and tradition in every bite. Families gathered around heavy wooden tables as daylight faded, sharing food that took all day to prepare and generations to perfect. Many of these dinners were once staples of rural life, yet today they've quietly vanished from modern cookbooks, remembered only by those who grew up with their smells drifting through open windows. One such meal was salt pork and milk gravy, a humble yet deeply satisfying dish where chunks of cured pork were slowly rendered, then drowned in thick, peppery milk gravy and poured over boiled potatoes or cornbread. It was filling, inexpensive, and designed to keep bodies working long hours in the fields. Another forgotten homestead dinner was ham-bone bean pot, a slow-simmered mixture of dried beans cooked all day with a leftover ham bone, onions, and whatever herbs could be found. This dish was never rushed, its flavor depended on time. The beans absorbed every ounce of smoky richness from the bone, turning scraps into something deeply nourishing. Equally overlooked today is chicken and slick dumplings. Not fluffy dumplings, but thin strips of dough dropped into rich broth, creating a thick, comforting stew that stretched one chicken to feed an entire family. It was common to eat this 4 days, reheated on the stove, growing thicker and better with each passing meal. Corn pone and potluck was another dinner that has nearly vanished from memory. Corn ponedens, hand-shaped cornbread cooked in a skillet or directly on a hearth. Stone was served with the nutrient-rich liquid left behind from boiled greens like collards or turnips. Nothing was wasted. That pot liquor was sipped, soaked up with bread, and believed to carry strength and healing. Alongside it often appeared fried mouche, made from leftover cornmeal porridge sliced and fried until crisp, proving that even yesterday's food could become tonight's dinner. Homestead tables once regularly featured liver and onions, a dish modern cookbooks avoid, but rural families relied on for iron and strength. Sliced liver was soaked, floured, fried, and smothered in slow caramelized onions. It wasn't indulgent, but it was practical nourishment. Another meal fading into obscurity is rabbit stew. Once common on farms where small game was part of daily survival, the meat was browned and simmered with root vegetables until tender, producing a rich, earthy stew that tasted of the land itself. Cabbage and salt beef was another forgotten dinner, especially during winter months when fresh food was scarce. Tough cuts of salted beef were boiled until tender, paired with cabbage and potatoes, and seasoned simply. It was hearty, warming, and designed to sustain rather than impress. Alongside it might be hoe cakes, simple cornmeal cakes, fried in a skillet, sometimes eaten plain, sometimes spread with sorghum or bacon grease. Many homesteads depended on beans and fatback, a dinner so common it rarely earned a name. Dried beans simmered all day with a slab of cured pork created a thick, savory pot that fed families cheaply. This meal often came with raw onion and vinegar, believed to balance the richness and aid digestion. Another disappearing dinner is chicken gizzards and gravy, slow-cooked until tender and poured over mashed potatoes, a dish born from the belief that every part of the animal deserved respect and use. Turnips and dumplings once appeared regularly, especially in colder months. The bitter greens were boiled and mixed with simple floured dumplings, creating a rustic dish that modern palates have forgotten. Boiled dinner, a one-pot meal of corned beef, cabbage, carrots, and potatoes, simmered together for hours, was once a weekly tradition. Skillet chicken, browned slowly and finished with pan gravy, was reserved for Sundays but now rarely appears in its original form. Green tomato stew, tart and comforting, helped families use unripe harvests before frost. Green tomato stew, tart and comforting, helped families use unripe harvests before frost. And dumpling stews without meat remind us how deeply homestead cooking was tied to survival, ingenuity, and respect for food. Finally, meals like corned mush with molasses, fried salt herring, poky greens, and dumpling stews without meat remind us how deeply homestead cooking was tied to survival. These dinners weren't written for cookbooks, they were written into memory, passed hand to hand, pot to pot, generation to generation. Today, as they fade from our tables, they still whisper stories of endurance, family. Today, as they fade from our tables, they still whisper stories of endurance, family, and a time when dinner wasn't about trends, but about making it through another day together.